Well, welcome to the second afternoon session here, and have another special session on the power of public relations with Liz Grimm of Liz Grimm Public Relations. With over 20 years of experience in public relations and marketing communications, Liz is accredited as an APR in the field of public relations and possesses experience on the corporate side, agency side, and as a business owner. The APR designation is a professional accreditation by the Public Relations Society of America, which demonstrates a high level of competence in the practice of public relations. And having worked with Liz professionally on corporate level and also with her volunteering for nonprofits, you're hearing from one of the best here in public relations. So welcome, Liz.
Thank you. Everybody can hear me okay? Hello. Thank you for joining me on this breakout session of the Business Summit. It's been a beautifully long day of panels and informative speakers, and I know you all have been gaining a lot of insightful information. So I'm Liz Grimm of Liz Grimm Public Relations, and I'm an independent public relations and marketing communications professional serving a variety of industries from healthcare to banking, real estate, the arts, restaurant and retail, as well as several nonprofit charitable organizations here in our community. Most of my clients are based in the Woodlands, and I have 30 years of experience on the corporate side, the agency side, and on my own now as an independent practitioner, which I've been for the last 18 years. As Kim mentioned, I have an APR by Public Relations Society of America, and I hold a bachelor's degree from Our Lady of Lake University, which I earned over several years of night school while working full-time. So those were some really good times. I'm also a graduate of leadership at Grimm County, class of 2001, which, by the way, is the best class ever. My husband and I have called the Woodlands our hometown since 1991, and our son is a freshman at Texas Tech University. Guns up, baby. I'd get that in. In this session, I'll be talking about public relations, but specifically in the arena of publicity. Most people assume that someone working in PR is planning events and going to parties and having fun all day, right, Margie? Yeah. But the reality is that it's a lot of writing and a lot of hard work behind the scenes on behalf of your clients. So I hope you find this presentation informative and insightful. Let's over here. So public relations at a glance. Public relations is often an untapped resource that can significantly enhance your overall marketing endeavors, whether your organization is business to business, business to consumer, or a charitable nonprofit community organization. While the 4 P's of the marketing mix are product, price, place, and promotion, PR is often seen as the 5th P of the mix, which is perception. Consumers prefer to do business with organizations that they like and respect and hold in high regard. Effective public relations builds these positive perceptions, creating a fertile environment for successful marketing and growth. PR activities leverage your advertising and promotional programs and reinforce your key images and messages of your brand. The powerful tool of public relations helps to inform, educate, and persuade audiences towards favorable perceptions of you and your organization. When you integrate PR and publicity into your marketing plan, you strengthen the overall results and return on investment of your efforts. Public relations has so many facets to it, but today I'll be talking mainly about it in the arena of publicity, which is news coverage by the local media. I'm probably about halfway through my presentation, so I'm trying to talk slow. Publicity defined. Publicity is information from an outside source that is used by the media because it has news value. It's the simple act of making a suggestion to a journalist that leads to the inclusion of a company or product in a story. Media outlets are looking for news. Newspapers, magazines, digital online news sites, just like Hello Woodlands, broadcast programs, they all have large amounts of space to fill, and they depend on publicists like me to help provide story ideas and content. The editorial side fills up the space around the advertising side, which is paid for. When you buy advertising space, you control what it says, how it looks, and when it appears and how often. Publicity, however, is an uncontrolled method of placing messages in the media because you really don't pay for that media placement. It is uncontrolled because newspaper editors can use it at any time, or edit your writing, or cut out half of your press release content, or they maybe even have to kill your story if other breaking news is more important. As a PR professional, I help my clients plan and create press releases to provide newsworthy information to the local media. And I'm sure you might not be aware of this, but most journalists credit publicists with generating more of half of their stories. Most people don't realize that when they look at a newspaper or a magazine, that many of the articles and the information has actually been provided by a PR representative, or the topic was pitched to a journalist for them to write about it. A pitch is when a publicist or an editor or contacts an editor or a reporter to give them a tip or a story idea in hopes that they will bite and include the clients as a source for the article. An example could be contacting a real estate reporter and sharing some of the latest statistics on demographic trends in home buying, or telling an editor about a heartfelt way that your organization helps somebody in a unique and innovative way. You are effectively positioning yourself as an expert on a particular topic, and hopefully you'll be top of mind to that editor the next time they need a source for a story that relates to your particular industry. So what can PR do for you and your company? Well, publicity can help build awareness among your targeted audiences, often at a fraction of the cost of advertising. Yet when used in conjunction with advertising, your messages are further reinforced and the ROI is even stronger and has more impact. Such publicity can help increase recognition among your targeted customers and generate favorable impressions of your organization. This favorable media coverage enhances the reputation of your business and builds credibility with key audiences. It can persuade, influence, and promote positive public opinion. This can also help to differentiate you from your competitors and set the tone for your unique company and approach, further underscoring your brand. As an example, I remember years ago promoting the goodwill and the charitable contributions from a community bank. And just out of the blue, I was out visiting with my neighbors in the neighborhood, and somebody said, you know what, I think I'm going to move my account over to that bank because they are always doing something good and giving back to the local community. So that's a good example of how people do want to do business with companies that they think are good corporate citizens. Or when a physician hosts educational seminars and then provides a recap of the information that they covered in the news, he or she is positioning themselves as an expert and staying in the news, and therefore they are top of mind for potential new patients. Such grassroots promotion is priceless. People will remember seeing your photograph or reading about your business. They may not remember the specific reference, but they will generally retain a positive association. A great example is announcing a new CEO or director of development with a professional head and shoulders photo, Once the publicity has started to appear, that new person is out and about networking, they will have an easier time working that room and making connections, as people will start to recognize them from the news and seeing their photo. PR also works for you by lending the credibility factor. A publicity placement in the form of news coverage is standardly valued at 3 times the equivalent of the cost of paid advertising. Water here and change my slide. All right. So what's newsworthy? People often assume when they're paying for advertising that whatever news they give to the media is automatically going to be published. But that's not the case with the majority of news outlets. Your news has to actually be newsworthy and be of interest to their particular readers. Editors look for story ideas that address significant or unusual trends, personal accomplishments, new services or products. So how do you recognize newsworthy opportunities? Take a moment and consider if your news topic is new, is it unique, or is everyone else doing it? Is it trendy, such as something innovative, like you've got something no one else is doing in the local market? Is it significant? Is it recent? Timeliness is very important. If it happened last year or several months ago, it's old news. Also note, if you're waiting until 2 days out to publicize an event that's coming up, you've waited too long. There's not enough time to make it in the press, and you have to plan ahead to give your news time to get picked up in the media. So some detailed examples of newsworthy opportunities are new or enhanced products or services, an expansion of your business, or a move to a new location. Mergers and partnerships are newsworthy. If you've hired new personnel or promoted an employee. Anniversaries, especially a milestone of your 1st, 5th, 10th, or 20th anniversary. Awards, honors, and achievements. Professional designations, such as earning a master's certification in your industry or becoming double board certified, assuming you're a physician or a surgeon. Board of director appointments with community or professional organizations. Also, charitable contributions if they're at a major or significant level, or activities that demonstrate that you're a good corporate citizen in the community. Sponsorships of events, such as serving as a presenting sponsor. And then your special events are newsworthy, such as open houses, ribbon cuttings, and fundraisers for nonprofits. If you're doing good things out in the community, share the news. If you're achieving and experiencing success, you should brag about it. What's not newsworthy? If you're offering a discount or having a half-price sale, that's not newsworthy. That's called a great opportunity to go place an ad. A small charitable donation or low-level sponsorship is generally not newsworthy enough, nor is an insignificant milestone such as a small office expansion or adding entry-level personnel. So to talk about the framework of a press release and what it is, a press release is otherwise called a news release, is a tool that you use to submit your story to the media. It's very beneficial in that it gives you the opportunity to provide all the facts, ensuring accuracy and correct spelling of names. PR professionals follow a standard format for press releases. They are traditionally written in the inverted triangle journalistic format, with covering the who, what, when, where, how, and why in the first and second paragraphs. From there, in subsequent paragraphs, you can go into more detail about what your story is, what you have to announce. It's typically written in third person, which is the he, she, they, and it is written objectively, so it's not too flowery or salesy or overly promotional. However, it's okay to brag or get a little promotional in your quote. The quotes are provided generally by business owners, leaders, or other key representatives. They are also a great opportunity, quotes, to weave in your key messaging and your branding points. Most press releases end with a boilerplate, which is a short about informational paragraph about describing your company, its mission, products and services, and it ends with contact information such as your website, phone number, email, and your social media handles. When it comes to using photos with publicity, a picture is worth 1,000 words and can significantly help to tell your story. A good photo to accompany your press release will increase the chances that your news will get picked up. Make sure your photo is well composed with good lighting and you have a nice tight shot, and that the height is about a high resolution of about 1 megabyte or higher. The lower sized file photo sizes work okay for online digital media, but you want to play it safe and cover your bases. Most magazines in particular need higher resolution photos. Try to think outside of the box when setting up a photo op. For example, let's say your company donated $10,000 to have a children's playground refurbished. Instead of your typical grip and grin where people stand and they're holding a check, consider having your company representatives, along with the school principal and the PE teacher, pose whimsically on various parts of the jungle gym, just to shake it up and make it a little more visually interesting. Slide on this. Yes, I do. Relationships with the media. It's important to build and maintain good relationships with the media. When you submit news to them, it's best not to hound them and ask them if and when they're going to run your story. Remember, it comes down to the fact that either it's an appropriate newsworthy fit for them or it's not. Don't burn your bridges by being a pest and demanding publicity. Also, be available for interviews and make yourself easy to contact. You want to try to be as accommodating as possible to make that journalist's job easier. We are so fortunate in Montgomery County to have an abundance of media in newspapers, weeklies, magazines, and online news outlets to work with to help promote our business and share our news. So I want to talk a little bit about innovative PR strategies that you can think about for your business and organization. Consider forming strategic alliances. Add fuel and newsworthy edges to your promotional event by cross-promoting with another like-minded business or organization that complements yours. Such co-opting can be very cost-effective. For example, that grape jelly maker may be very interested in becoming a promotional partner for your peanut butter event and may be willing to split the expenses as well. Consider tie-ins. By tying in a nonprofit or educational opportunity, you can attract more attention from the media as well as the community. For example, you could designate 10% of your proceeds from the opening week of your business to benefit a local charity that's of interest in our community that we want to support. Or your special event could have a featured guest expert speaker who will share information and do a demonstration or a tutorial. I told you this was going quick. And here are the takeaways of what I presented so far. Remember that PR is often seen as the 5th P of the marketing mix, perception. Publicity can help increase awareness among your targeted key audiences and provide favorable impressions of your organization and lend credibility. Keep it newsworthy. Don't be a pest. Get creative with your photos. Consider innovative PR strategies such as forming alliances with complementary organizations or tying in with nonprofits to create goodwill. In conclusion, when planning your marketing endeavors, don't forget about the power of PR. Thank you guys so much for attending this breakout session, and I hope you found this information helpful. I did it almost 25 minutes. Yay! I'm going to open it up for questions and see if anybody would like to share anything. Does anybody have any questions? Yes, Courtney.
Okay, so I guess this is kind of a big question, but going back to like relationships with media, I know like when I was a young PR professional, just outside of college, how do you build those relationships without being a pest? Like, not specifically like the local context, but I always had issues with like TV stations and stuff like that. Do you have any tips or?
Yeah. So there's several things you can do. You can actually read what they write about, get to know their beat, watch the programming and see what type of topics that they like to cover, and then notice what time they're going on air. The worst thing you can do, especially building relationships with television stations, is call them at 5 o'clock right when they're on deadline, and they'll tell you. They don't sugarcoat it.
Yeah.
So do your research, follow them, get to know what they're looking for, and they really appreciate it when you do your homework and you show that you're kind of caring about what do they want, because it's a two-way street. And just be patient and don't be a pest, and be respectful, and even ask for feedback. A lot of times I'll say, what can I do better to make your job easier or to help fulfill what you're looking for?
Yeah. So another question too.
Yeah.
Crisis communication. So you're never like prepared for it, and like you work for a company too. I think sometimes like you want to like be prepared, but maybe the higher ups don't want to like think about it. So like, how do you? And when I was in journalism school, they were always like, you can't ever like come back with no comment and stuff like that. But how is crisis communication? How can we try and prepare for that? I mean, sometimes it's the unknown, but
yeah, the unknown. It's definitely it's another animal. So there are PR firms that actually specialize in crisis communications and crisis planning. And it's a whole process that you'll go through with a professional. You will brainstorm what could happen. So you start out with that, and it's a planning session. You identify who your key spokesperson is going to be. It's better just to have one key spokesperson at the company. Avoid saying no comment. You want to regroup, keep your head together, but be as transparent and communicative as possible with the media. Provide updates as you go. And also a crisis communication specialty firm will bring in media training to get people used to having a microphone in their face, get them used to, those hot potato questions that they could throw at them. And that seems like a lot of work, but it can go a long way, because when a crisis drops in your lap, most people are not prepared for it. And it takes a lot of skill and responding properly, or you can totally escalate something. Yes, Margie.
I just want to answer that a little bit, because I've had a few crises in the last few months with a lot of different nonprofits and things you don't hear about because they were nicked. But one of them you might have heard about was Margaritaville. Well, we were staying there with the Woodlands Chamber, which is also one of my clients. And so it's very important to admit the problem, have ownership of the problem, show empathy.
Absolutely, yeah.
And be open to what people have to say and show remorse for whatever it is and what you're gonna do in the future. Just simple. Be concerned. Don't walk away and say, like you said, no comment, but own the problem, because we're not infallible.
Yeah, and Margie, when you said the word empathy, especially if there's been a death or an injury, something extremely unfortunate like that. Absolutely. Does anybody else have any questions or something to share? Yes, Kim?
You touched upon a little bit about how advertising, you control your message, PR you don't. Now there's a lot of great media outlets that separate PR from advertising, and there's some that, well, you want us to get you stories, but you're not spending money. And that's the reality at some places, not all though, because there's a lot that are very high integrity for separating the two. How do you deal with that as a PR person?
Well, as the ones that are asking for the money,
or kind of hinting around that.
Yeah. It's really a delicate line, because you know the advertising fuels their business model, and so I think it goes back to, you know, if the client has budget and they want to buy advertorials with those type of media outlets, and advertorial is actually paid space. So if you have a press release and they don't run it, you can actually buy a full page ad and write an article and get it printed. So that's paid for advertorial space. But I think it drills back also, Kim, to, you know, just being very mindful of what's newsworthy and what's not. And so that credibility and that onus is on you as you're a PR professional and you as a company. Does anybody else have any questions here? Okay, we made it.